Hey guys, this is Joe. I just wanted to make some kind of a video because I haven't been up in a long time. And since I was just watching, I've been watching a lot of nuclear preparedness videos lately. Don't know why. I guess I've just kind of run out of internet. But, and I was just watching one of Hoople's Cat's one. And he's got a lot of great videos and great information on nuclear war and nuclear weapons. But I want to bring up a couple of quick points that almost everybody is ignoring or has wrong. Because when it comes to nuclear survival, an awful lot of our information is based on stuff that was developed in the 50s and 60s when nuclear weapons were huge and it was assumed that they were going to be getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But that didn't happen. Nuclear weapons got smaller and smaller and smaller, and arsenals got smaller and smaller and smaller. And I'm not going to bring up a bunch of charts and all that stuff because I'm way too lazy for that shit. If you're interested enough in it, you can search out there on the internet and find the information comparing old arsenals and modern arsenals. But the modern nuclear weapon arsenals are tiny compared to what they used to be. And a lot of people say, well, yeah, but some of those old weapons they're not in inventory anymore, but they're stored as whatever. If a nuclear weapon has to be kind of tuned up every year because the material in it is decaying and stuff like that, it has to be maintained. And if it isn't, it doesn't go boom. After a few years of non-maintenance, it's no good. And anything that isn't ready to fly in the first hour of the war, World War III isn't going to fly, you know. So, with that having been said, I want to point out that most of the nuclear weapons in the Russian arsenal, and Russia is the only country that can even really think about going toe-to-toe with us, and even they can't really. But most of the weapons in the Russian nuclear arsenal are between 100 and 500 kilotons. The largest weapon known to be in the current Russian inventory is 800 kilotons. So there are no multi-megaton weapons out there. So, you know, I see people quoting, well, a 5-megaton bomb is going to do this, or a 1-megaton bomb, or a 20-megaton bomb. I've seen people talking about, well, I think I live such and such a place, and I think they'll drop a 20-megaton. There's no such thing anymore. They don't exist. Nobody's got them. The reason for the smaller bombs is you can stick a bunch of them on a missile. And we needed huge bombs when missile accuracy across the planet was plus or minus half a mile. But now missile accuracy is, you know, in your stew pot. So they just don't need these huge bombs. A small nuke in the right place, I mean, a bullet in the right place will do the job, right? So there are no multi-megaton weapons out there. There are no megaton weapons out there that anybody's going to drop anywhere near you. If anything goes off anywhere near you, it's probably going to be between 100 and 500 kilotons, maybe as high as 800 kilotons. Now, there may be multiple weapons used on large targets, but it's another matter. They wouldn't be going off all at the same time, probably. Another issue that I see brought up a lot is flash blindness. First off, yeah, the bright flash, if you're looking at it, can cause flash blindness. They've used that in movies and things. The reality, however, is that the flash blindness from nuclear weapons is almost always a temporary effect. There may have been some people permanently blinded, you know, aside from having their faces burned off, but permanently blinded at Hiroshima and Nagasaki, but I have not been able to find any actual reference to it. All of the blindness was temporary, lasted a few hours, maybe a few days. So flash blindness is something that a big deal is made out of, but it's probably not as big a deal as that. And then the other thing that I'd like to point out is that when you look at these fallout maps and fallout estimates and all that stuff that they have out there, not only are they based on old huge weapons, but they almost always are based on ground bursts. That means the weapon goes boom when it hits the ground. There are very few targets that ground bursts are going to be used against. Only missile silos, hardened targets, are they going to use a ground burst. And even then, it probably won't be a ground burst, but a low angle burst. We used a relatively low angle bursts over Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I mean, they were up in the air, but they were lower than they needed to be. Most weapons coming into cities and stuff like that are going to be what they call an optimum angle airburst. Their supercomputers calculate literally for each specific city exactly where to hit it and exactly what altitude to hit it at. And I know, on our side anyway, I know this because I had a friend whose job was to sit day after day and run a supercomputer and constantly figure out how to attack every city on Earth and every target on Earth. Um, they even take into account the shadowing effects of buildings and stuff like that because they want each bomb to do the maximum damage. And an optimal angle airburst is where you got that bomb the right distance off the ground, thousands and thousands of feet up when it goes, and you get the largest area of effect with, I think it's 5 psi of overpressure or more, which is devastating to infrastructure. That kills the most people. And a lot of people say, oh, well, they'll use ground bursts because of the hideous, evil fallout radiation. The reality is the fallout just doesn't do the kind of damage that the airburst doesn't kill as many people. So there may be a nasty planner or two in Moscow. They might do that a little bit, toss in one or two on the ground here or there, but it's not going to be nearly as messy as what people are expecting. Now, it's better to over-prepare, but a lot of people throw up their hands and, oh, it's hopeless, it's this and that and everything. I think the total global inventory is something like 5,000 megatons now or something like that. We're like 80, 90, 95% or something reduced from where we were in the 60s when everybody was making all these calculations. So, yes, you'll survive a nuclear war probably if you are not at ground zero. And if you know what to do, you'll almost certainly survive after that. And life will never be the same, but you make the best out of the situation as it is. Anyway, so I just wanted to clear those three things up. Flash blindness is temporary. No megaton or larger weapons, and much less fallout than people are expecting. Much less fallout. I'm out. Merry Christmas! In case I don't see you before then, I'm sure I will.